Welcome to Embracing Humans. My name is Vicki Spray. Today I want to talk about family, and I'm hoping that you will take some time to settle into listening to this. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of things that we can learn. There's a lot of things that we're healing from. There's a lot of things that we are observing and tossing aside and embracing. One of the things that is required of us is to be still for a little while now and again, hopefully every day, but not for very long. It doesn't have to be a lot. Just maybe right now. Maybe right now is a good time. So we're going to talk about family today. As a spiritual counselor and a medium, I hear a lot about families. I talk to people about families. I talk with my humans that I work with about what they gained from families, what they were challenged by in their family system. And we have to remember that family is all kinds of things. I think we're finally getting that slowly but surely. You know, the nuclear family is somewhat new in the human evolution. I was taking some notes about the different types of family. You know, there's economic arrangements. There's a real good understanding now that our grandmothers on the Western world probably would not have stayed with our grandfathers if it had not been for an economic requirement. In other words, to have food in her mouth and in her children's mouth. I'm not saying men are bad. What I'm saying is that the systems that we live in are not conducive yet to embracing and fully allowing people to come into their fruition. And economics is one of the ways that hinders that and also facilitates that. So marriages are often based on economics still today, though that is changing. Excuse me. You know, living conditions, whatever the living condition is, not just the patriarchy, but the weather. Excuse me, whatever the happenings in our culture at that particular generation's time, war, etc. You know, how far do the families extend? Do they extend to their grandparents, cousins? How far is that family circle? You know, there's matrilineal society still today where the woman's name is carried and the woman's traditions are carried generation after generation. The adoptions, the blended families, the communal families, it's humans have found all kinds of ways to have clans to support one another. And we're going to talk a little bit about soul pods. I like that sound, soul pods. Whatever fashion, whatever system of family that you have found yourself in, the one thing that I want to talk about today is that it's actually souls traveling together in some fashion. That's what it is. It's human form and aunts and uncles and sisters and moms and dads and siblings, but really it's souls in human form. The one thing that I took away from Brian Weiss's book, Many Lives, Many Masters, is that we have 8 to 12 people who travel with us each lifetime. They're pods of influence. Family is a really good way for our souls to have intense influence on each other's lives. And let's just go big picture here, what this is about. Lots of language going on about what it's all about, Alfie, and some people are calling it an earth school. We're here to learn something. Reincarnation, lifetime after lifetime, but let's just play with that for a minute. Let's just say that that is the case, that this is an earth school. What is it that we've come here to learn? I've answered this question for myself. And it's to know the truth of who we are. That's a big statement, that if we work from the belief system that lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime is about learning the truth of who we are, and family systems are one of the major ways that that occurs, then we have to look at family systems a lot more closely so that we check with our soul to see if our family system is working to that end. Am I learning more and more about who I am through my family system? One of the reasons that we're not living our joyful lives in this paradise that we were dropped into, Earth, is that we don't know who we are. And we are learning. I mean, this generation of humans at this time in history is probably the very first generation where that's gotten much more real than ever before. That there is a focus on understanding ourselves in ways that Freud began, Jung began, but now it's an individual journey where we decide what books to read for ourselves, our self-help, our spiritual evolution, our spiritual maturity. We decide what podcasts to listen to, what videos to watch. It's an individual journey that is also happening within the collective. And family is a part of all of this. Our families, no matter the construct, are our initial introduction into defining ourselves. Some would say that's good news. Some would say that's bad news. Some would say that's a blend. I would say it's a blend. They are our touchstone. This is what our family does. This is what we're conveyed. This is what our family does. This is who we are. This is how we spend money. This is how we view family. This is how we view children. This is how we view women. This is how we view men. This is how we treat ourselves within this family system. Sometimes what happens in the family stays in the family. This is our tribe. This is our clan. This is our family. This is who you are in this tribe, in this clan, in this family. The influence from our one generation to the next is immense. And it really hasn't been looked at. It has, but it hasn't. And there's a process in that. There's a process in looking at our family without feeling disloyal. There's a process of looking at our family and getting the perspective that is needed for our soul's maturation, for our soul's expansion, for our soul's fulfillment. The subtle and subconscious influence on how we view ourselves cannot be underestimated. It is a powerful force. From the type of food we eat, and that's a biggie, to how capable we are to love and receive love, how open we are to love, comes from our family. How closed off we are from love comes from our family. Many views that we hold in the recesses of our minds, and you can bet it's in the recess until it's not, about love, about money, we hold true to what was fed to us until it's examined. And most everybody I know, I travel with some pretty cool people, but most everybody I know is reevaluating their family system so that they can go into the recess of their mind, bring forward into their conscious mind the views, the beliefs, the truths that were given to us from our family system. Usually the tall people is what I call them, the parents. And we have remnants of our grandparents and our parents, and we have remnants of our great-grandparents and our grandparents and our parents. It is a thing. And I know it sounds so simple and so obvious, but I look at the world that we live in and I see partially that the problem with what's going on with humans is we haven't looked at it enough, and we haven't looked at it through a spiritual lens. We're moving in that direction more and more. We looked at it in an emotional lens, partly, and we looked at it through a mental lens, partly. But it's time for humans to look at it as a spiritual lens. And I'm hoping that this talk is going to facilitate that for you. The truths that were passed down need to be examined, re-examined. I see young parents monitoring what their parents say in front of their children. And I see them monitoring what they allow their grandparents to say to their children. And it's hard to do. It's really hard to do because we don't want to hurt the parents' feelings and we don't want to hurt our grandparents' feelings. But some of the stuff that comes out of these people's mouths are just regurgitation. And they do harm, they do damage. And so then the new parent who's exhausted and overworked in the West and overwhelmed with life anyway, has to then monitor and pay attention to what is being said to their children and done to their children. So it's a heavy load. It's actually too heavy of a load without a spiritual journey. It is too heavy of a load. And it has to be done. And thank goodness there are so many grandparents, and I work with them, who are willing to think before something comes out of their mouth. Think before they pass down a generational slight, passive aggressive statement. They think and they shut their mouths before they say it. That's a really, really big deal. Because they, especially grandparents, they were raised that they should be able to say and do whatever they want to do. That their way, raised kids and, one of the biggest backlashes that I ever got on social media was when I talked about not hitting your children. That's still a thing. That's still a thing. And I work with a lot of parents who have hit their children because they were hit. And, spare the rod, spoil the child, biblical statement. By golly, that's how you do children. That is still a thing. And the backlash was, I turned out fine. And, they did. They turned out fine. But they didn't write their book. And they didn't start their business. And their children don't want to have Thanksgiving with them. So there has to be a reevaluation. And I am so grateful that I'm living in a generation of humans that are willing to look at this stuff, are willing to reevaluate how they were raised. It is a beautiful, 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 and really hard thing to do. And I get to witness even parents, the overwhelmed, exhausted parents, talk to their moms and dads about how they want their children to be treated and go through the process of their reaction to that. And because they're getting tools from podcasts like this. They're getting tools from books and movies and reading essays and stories and oh my gosh, conversations with their own friends. It is happening. It is happening, and it needs to happen. It needs to happen. Our family system in the West has been reevaluated for some time now, and it needed to be, and it has been, and it will continue. It's just going deeper now. We're going into a deeper place of a spiritual approach to what it means to be in relationship to another human being. The more humans align themselves with the truth of who we are, the less pain we will cause ourselves and others. the more joy, harmony, creativity, and unconditional love we all experience with our upcoming incarnations as well. In this lifetime, I am changing how I'm going to be in relationship to another human being in the next lifetime. I know that. I know that I'm eternal. I know that I'm permanent. I'm not going anywhere. My body will, but I'm not. And so this lifetime, I'm clearing out the stuff that interferes with the flow of love. And it hasn't been easy. And it has been so rewarding. And I would do it all again, every bit of it. And I want to provide inspiration and hope for being able to navigate this life, no matter what family system you had. Earth School, we'll call that again Earth School. By the way, there is a graduation and it's not death. Earth School is about our souls maturing into mastery, living in the physical without forgetting our spiritual foundation. We come from the spirit, we come into form, into physical form, and we, within the first 7 years of our lives, forget all that. I don't believe that's always going to have to be the case. In fact, I feel quite certain it's not. In fact, more and more children are coming in and being born to humans, parents, tall people, that have done their work of sorting out what needs to be kept from their family system and what needs to be discarded. And those children are benefiting from that. And so their souls get to be able to be more prominent. The spirit within them, the spirit within their soul, gets to influence the physical, the human mind. And so the human physicality isn't the ruler of the roost anymore. It takes a back seat to spirit and soul. And I'm using that language, and I know it's a little bit confusing, spirit, soul, and human. I will do another video where I talk about the Trinity of the spirit, the soul, and the human form. So, as long as a tall person, a parent who brings form into this world, is doing their work, they work as in healing their mind and healing their heart from past generations, the story, then their children are going to benefit from that more than anything. It doesn't matter if you can give them a house. It doesn't matter if you can leave an inheritance. What matters is that you're able to teach them what it means to be a spirit being in human form. But you can't give what you don't have. And so you have to learn it. And if you're watching this video, you're learning it. Or you wouldn't be watching this video. You would have bypassed. Our family is the prime source of contrast that is needed for the maturation of our souls. It is also the prime source of the golden nuggets that we have gleaned and that they have gleaned in their lifetime, in their human incarnation. Remember, in this, if you follow the reincarnation belief system, if you've read Many Lives, Many Masters, and the many other beautiful, amazing books out there, if you followed any of the near-death experiences, which I'll get to in a minute, you know that in one lifetime you may be your mother's mother. In another lifetime, you may have been your father's son, daughter, cousin. These pods of people are souls. They travel with us each lifetime. They offer the contrast and they offer the golden nuggets. In one lifetime with your 8 to 12 soul travelers, you might have been a soul ready to learn or experience the truth of intimate connection. Intimate connection. We're not talking sex here. We're talking about intimate connection, where the love of flow, the flow of love, is unencumbered, not limited, not constricted, not contracted. In another lifetime, you may have been someone who assisted someone else to learn, experience the expansion of their soul through intimate connection. It's a give. It's a give and take. It's a flow. It's a contraction, expansion. It's a flow. In one lifetime, your soul was ready to experience authentic power. And so a family member, mom, dad, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, cousin, grandfather, grandmother, challenged you in some way to discover your power. They provided contrast. And you taught them empathy, perhaps, if their soul was ready, if your soul was ready. It's messy and it's magical. It is so magical. When I first started this spiritual counseling work, I was amazed to be a witness to how other humans affected other humans' lives. I mean, of course, I'm going to be hearing those stories, and of course, I'm going to have an insider's view. But what an amazing thing to see how an uncle was able to influence a niece to expand her journey, to expand her soul's capacity for true life, the fullest fruition of life in human form. It was contrast and it was nuggets. And I've been a witness to that. And I'm still sometimes amazed. I had a past life regression. I've had several. This particular one was, he was a Frenchman, a businessman in Paris. And he was doing some type of traveling on a huge boat. I think he was carrying merchandise on a merchant ship, and they wrecked. And it was near an island, and he was one of the only survivors. And he was young, probably in his 20s and 30s, between 20 and 30. And he came into a family, a tribe of islanders. And he was accepted and loved. And he married, by that culture's standards, a woman and had a son. And something started bugging him, though he was so loved and he was so cherished and he was quite content on the beaches. And, anthropologists tell us that many tribal cultures work 20 hours a week, and that's what they do to sustain their lives. So he was enjoying that. And then something happened. He started feeling a yearning for the old. And he found a way to leave the island, a passing ship. But his son didn't want to leave. His son was probably in his early 20s by this time. And he didn't want to leave. I mean, leave to do what? To go where? And his father talked him into it. So father and son went back to France, and father got back into the business and money and things and material, and the son was aghast at the noise and the haste and the busyness and the lack of love. And so the son wanted to go back, and the father was devastated. And in fact, he tried to stop the son from doing so. Now, this is me, the father in another lifetime. And his son goes back. He leaves. He gets on a ship and takes off. And me in that lifetime is left with, what have I done? What have I done? What did I hold in such high priority that I severed a relationship? Bunches of relationships. My whole tribe. And what have I gained from it? that lifetime was a major lesson. And by the way, we are living in a time where instead of one lesson per lifetime, we've got about 20 going. So take naps is my suggestion. But anyway, that lifetime taught me something. What is my priority? Who and what do I prioritize in this lifetime? So there are so many ways to learn these things and to unlearn things. And all we can do is keep going and keep doing it and do the best we can do. Looking at our family and our family systems and our relationship to that family and family system is what is one of the things that is very needed at this time in history. I mentioned near-death experiences earlier. So many of the near-death experiencers have a life review. And it is so interesting to me that maybe it's my algorithm, but I hear so few near-death experiences that have any type of judgment around it. In fact, I may have heard one. Mostly, the life review is our effects on other humans and their effects on us. What they do and what they say matters. And there's no judgment. All there is love would have done better here. Love would have done better here. Our family members have a tenfold opportunity to say or do something for us, to evolve our soul. And we have the same closeness, the vicinity to do the same. And we have to know what to do with that. A period of my own maturation, my own soul maturation, I was given just a in-moment clarity. And the words were, I am only my mother's daughter. Excuse me. That was a big deal because subconsciously there was an entanglement there that was given to me by my culture, given to me by my own stories, given to me by the interactions with my mother. You hear mother say, she's my little me. I'll talk about that another time. But there was a story of entanglement, and my spirit, that two-edged sword, wow, knew that. And for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe I didn't have a thought for a split second. It was able to slip that in between my thoughts. But it came in, and it was a big deal because it tethered, it severed that tether that I had in my mind about I am more than just my mother's daughter. That was the outcome. What was severed was that I am my mother's daughter. That's the entanglement. That is that constricted, this is who I am. I am my mother's daughter. And spirit was given me, absolutely not. You are so much more than your mother's daughter. And so it gave me breathing room that I didn't even know I needed. And then, of course, working with humans, I see it all the time, especially with mothers and daughters, and of course with fathers and sons, that there is this entanglement of I am attached to the parent. I heard Abraham say one time, they are our gods. And as long as they are our gods, we're in trouble because we don't become our own God connected to God. So it has to be undone. And we have to be willing to do that. And mostly we're not until we are. You can quote me on that. So our families provide a springboard into our expansion and contrast to create the friction needed for our souls. Unfortunately, we still need friction. We need the contrast. Our families can keep us tethered to fearful mindedness and provide the clarity that we want when we want something different for our present lifetime. They give us who they are. It may work for us, and if it doesn't, we wake up like, wait a minute, you saying that to me doesn't work anymore. You saying that to me is disrespectful. You saying to me doesn't reveal love, and it doesn't allow love to flow toward me from you. And we go through the stage of being terrified of what their reaction is going to be. When we're wounded, we're terrified of sticking up for ourselves because we're afraid of what might come back at us. And what we're afraid of is the thing that we hold about ourselves. So we want to keep the boat from rocking, and we want to keep the story of everything is fine. We want to keep everybody happy, because if we speak up for ourselves, then somebody may say something back to us that we believe ourselves about ourselves. And so we don't want that to happen. So we don't stick up for ourselves. We never have to risk them saying something. So what is to be done about that? We heal the thing we think about ourselves. They have no ammunition then. They have nothing. They have nothing. They have old stuff that is water on a duck's back when it comes in our direction. And that is power. That's where your power is. If you're not holding something against yourself, nobody can hold anything against you. That's power. And your families can provide that for you. They are our catalyst. When we can take, when we can take what works and feeds and sustains our soul, living more from spirit consciousness than human consciousness, we are fulfilling our contracts to our soul pod. There's a contract. We have a contract. We'll say that there are the 8 to 12 people. We have a contract. And this is what the contract says. And it doesn't have any addendums. It doesn't have any caveats. It doesn't have any, whatever that other word is. What is that word? Where you can get out of something? None of that. It's very clear. My soul contract with my pod is that I do what I can to assist your soul to mature into its highest capability so that it can influence the human mind to live in its highest degree. As I evolve, I provide less contrast for you and more golden nuggets. And the more your soul matures, the more capable you are of receiving those golden nuggets, and vice versa. You're going to provide contrast for me. My mother, my father, my siblings, they all provided contrast for me. My job is to use that contrast and evolve my soul. It was tricky for a while, and I wasn't sure which way it was going to go. The way it has gone is golden nuggets are being formed every day. So, it takes a long time to get to bowing down to our fathers and our mothers in a way, and our soul pod to say thank you for offering me your contrast, even though you had really no choice because of your own journey. But thank you. Thank you for being a part of my soul pod. I'll see you in the next lifetime. And we'll do better next time. I know we will, because that's how it works. That's the evolution of the soul. We weren't born into human form as an experiment. There's no experiment going on here. What's going on is an opportunity. And we're being helped in so many ways. We're being challenged in so many ways, but we're being helped in so many ways. We have to remember something that's very important. The Buddha had to leave his father's kingdom to discover the truth of himself. Jesus, coming from a really strong family system, Jesus told his disciples to leave their nets and follow him. That means stop feeding your family and follow me. When somebody in the crowd asked him about his mother and his brother, he said, Who? Who is my mother? Who is my brother? I'm not saying we have to leave our family. We don't. We might have to, but we don't have to. I had to. A lot of humans and a lot of healers have to leave their family, but it's not required for everyone. But what is required of everyone is that we have a perspective change. We have a perception change about who our family is, what they offered us, what we want to take, and what we want to leave behind. It has to be done consciously. My grandmother, whom I call Meemaw, was a beautiful, beautiful human woman. She was so beautiful, so loving, so kind, so gentle. She loved God so much. And she was racist. And she was homophobic. And she was misogynistic. She taught me a lot about what it means to have a relationship with spirit. She called God. She taught me a lot about what it means to be walking on this earth with a powerful relationship to God and still be completely unconscious of your misogyny and your racism and your homophobia. It is a remarkable thing that her love did not extend into those areas of her life. But it was also interesting that when I brought it up in the most loving way I could, she heard me, because love opens that channel. And that was a difficult thing to do for both of us. She hadn't examined any of that, but no one had called her on it either. So me moving back and seeing that was important. That I was raised the same way. I was raised racist. I was raised homophobic. I was raised misogynistic. My Meemaw gave birth to my father, and my father gave birth to me. Sort of. He was my father. It was necessary for me to have perspective. Who is this family that I was born into that believes these things, thinks these things? So I had to remove myself figuratively, emotionally, mentally, physically, to be able to see. And then when I came back into whomever it was I wanted to come back into in the family system, I came with a perspective, a new perception, a love, really, to the degree that I could over the years. And it has just, the golden nuggets have just been getting bigger and much more trustworthy. So it's a process that I knew I had to do for myself, and working with humans, other humans, I see the necessity when they're ready, and they usually are the ones who tell me when they're ready, to be freed. We have to become conscious of what was given to us. Our ties to some members of our family are soul ties, not all of them, but many of them. I laugh sometimes because some of them are not soul ties, but they're still a brother, or they're still a mother, or they're still an aunt, or they're still an uncle. They're still a father, but they're not in my soul pod. They invite us to experience ourselves and each other as souls evolving towards spirit consciousness. I mentioned just a minute ago that sometimes we have to remove ourselves from them, our family, in order to get perspective. And when I talked a minute ago about going back in, what I want to say and elaborate on is that it's an irony that when we move ourselves from them to gain our perspective so that we can have room to think for ourselves and figure out what's in the mind, the back of the mind that was given to us generation after generation after generation. The irony is that we sometimes will come back into the fold, but the I that we're bringing back into the fold is not the I that left the fold. It is the I that has gained spiritual consciousness. And we start seeing our mothers as soul beings. We start seeing our fathers as soul beings. And whether or not they can see us in that same way in this lifetime is of no consequence. It doesn't matter. What matters is what am I doing with my perception, my new perception, my new perspective, my new understanding about what my pod has done for me and what I can do for them. It becomes a conscious decision instead of just a decision made on proximity. When we see our family members as souls connected by spirit, we are now well on our way to knowing and experiencing our human incarnation on this earth as it is truly meant to be experienced. I will probably revisit this conversation because family is so important. And I'm looking forward to it because it's an unfolding in our culture right now, and in individual lives, and in mine as well. My advice to everyone is embrace the humans you love and know that your soul is becoming more aligned with spirit, even while you get to enjoy the goodies of this physical life. We get to enjoy the goodies of our physical life no matter how spiritually minded we become. What we don't even come close to realizing yet is what we're capable of as humans. We've just barely touched on love. Many of us, many cultures. There are some cultures in history that they've got happiness figured out. They've got love figured out. They don't have a lot of things, but they're only working 20 hours a week. And they know how to love, and they know how to receive love. That's where we're headed. And I'm thinking the 20-hour work week too. Until next time, my name is Vicki Spray. This is Embracing Humans. I hope this was useful for you. Until next time.